Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. West Asia situation escalates. Israel launches strikes in Lebanon. Hezbollah fires hundreds of rockets in Israel. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacts with women entrepreneurs who are beneficiaries of the government's Lakhpati Didi scheme in Maharashtra, releases fresh financial assistance to them. And NASA decides to keep astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore in space until February, decides not to get them back to Earth in Boeing's troubled new capsule. Hezbollah launched hundreds of rockets and drones at Israel early on Sunday as Israel's military said it struck Lebanon with around 100 jets to thwart a bigger attack in one of the biggest clashes in more than 10 months of border warfare. Missiles were visible curling up through the dawn sky, dark vapor trails behind them as an air raid siren sounded in Israel and a distant blast lit the horizon while smoke rose over houses in Kiam in southern Lebanon. 3 deaths were confirmed in Lebanon and none in Israel, where damage appeared to be limited. Hezbollah indicated it was not planning further strikes yet. Israel's foreign minister said the country did not seek a full-scale war. The Iran-backed Lebanese group said it had fired 320 Katyusha rockets towards Israel and hit 11 military targets in what it called the first phase of its retaliation for Israel's assassination of Fuad Shukr, a senior commander, last month. Israel's military said it had foiled a much larger attack with preemptive airstrikes after assessing that Hezbollah was preparing to launch the barrage using 100 jets to strike more than 40 Hezbollah launch sites in southern Lebanon. Any major escalation in the fighting, which began in parallel with the war in Gaza, risks morphing into a regional conflagration, drawing in Hezbollah's backer Iran and Israel's main ally, the United States. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that the country would take all necessary measures to protect itself.
Early in the morning, we identified Hezbollah's preparations to attack Israel in consultation with the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Staff. We instructed the IDF to act proactively to remove the threat. The IDF has since been working vigorously to thwart the threats. It destroyed thousands of rockets aimed at the north of the country. It also thwarts many other threats and operates with great power, both in defense and attack. I ask you, citizens of Israel, to follow the directives of the Home Front Command. We are determined to do everything possible to protect our country, to return the residents of the North safely to their homes, and to continue to uphold a simple rule: whoever harms us, we harm him.
Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant on Sunday announced a 48-hour nationwide emergency situation after the Israeli military launched preemptive strikes in Lebanon. The emergency enables the IDF to issue instructions to the citizens of Israel, including limiting gatherings and closing sites where it may be required. Israel on Sunday warned that Hezbollah's actions towards Israeli territory could lead to wider regional escalation. The Israeli military said it was striking Hezbollah targets in Lebanon in self-defense.
We can see that Hezbollah is preparing to launch an extensive attack on Israel, while endangering the Lebanese civilians. We warned the civilians located in the areas where Hezbollah is operating to move out of harm's way immediately for their own safety. Hezbollah's ongoing aggression risks dragging the people of Lebanon, the people of Israel, and the whole region into a wider escalation.
The military also warned residents to immediately leave areas where Hezbollah was operating, with air alert sirens sounding across the country's north.
The IDF is striking terror targets in Lebanon from which Hezbollah was planning to launch their attacks on Israeli civilians. This follows more than 6,700 rockets, missiles, and explosive UAVs fired by Hezbollah at Israeli families, homes, and communities since October 8th.
As emergency was declared in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant held a meeting at the command center in Tel Aviv. Israel's Prime Minister's office said that they were assessing the situation. Meanwhile, the Defense Ministry said Gallant briefed U.S. counterpart Lloyd Austin on the overall situation, asserting that Israel was determined to use all the means at its disposal to defend its citizens. U.S. Secretary of Defense assured all help to Israel to address its security threat. The two leaders also discussed the importance of avoiding a regional escalation. Sarah Coates now joins us live from Tel Aviv. Sarah, what's been the aftermath of the strikes by Hezbollah on Tel Aviv and elsewhere in Israel?
Hello there. Well, we do know that there were some hits in Israel's north, although at this hour it does remain unclear as to what damage was caused, given that the IDF's Home Front Command has put out an advisory to media saying they are not to publish any destruction or any troop movements going to the north. So a lot of this has been censored, although there are unconfirmed reports that an Israeli warship sitting in the Mediterranean did in fact suffer a hit, with reports of a number of casualties on board, although this once again has not been confirmed. Now, the country is in a 24 or 48-hour, I should say, emergency period where many beaches have been closed. Also, a number of airlines have stopped flights in and out of Tel Aviv and also in and out of Beirut's international airport. So it certainly is a very tense time here on the ground. Over the course of the day, we can expect more high-level meetings as the one this morning involving the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his senior security staff, as it's very unclear as to what Israel may expect going forward, given that Hezbollah has come out to say that this is only phase one of this attack, and it remains unclear as to what phase two will entail and when it may actually happen.
True, Sarah, since it is unclear what second phase of the attack by Hezbollah may entail, how is Israel preparing for what Hezbollah says could be the second phase?
Well, Israel has been saying all along that it is prepared for any scenario, and we do need to remember here that Israel does have the backing of its staunchest ally, the United States, with US and other allied warships and military hardware sitting in the Mediterranean and in the Persian Gulf. Now, on the back of this attack early this morning, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, he held a phone call with the US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin in the United States, where Austin reaffirmed the US's ironclad support for Israel. So, of course, this is a developing situation, an ongoing situation, and people are being told to stay very close to bomb shelters and also to report anything suspicious if they see it. So certainly a lot of tension here in the region, and this is what we're hearing from international mediators and players, that they're really desperate that a ceasefire, truce talks, a ceasefire deal could come into place, hopefully in the near future, to really bring down tensions in the region. But in terms of a ceasefire right now, while there is a lot of hope, there certainly is not a lot of optimism.
Absolutely, Sarah. Then are there fears that the situation could further escalate, possibly drawing in other players in the region?
Well, this is what we've been hearing all along. It's not just Hezbollah, but Iran that is threatening to attack Israel in the wake of the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh. He was the head of Hamas's Politburo, and he was assassinated earlier this month in Tehran, just a day after the killing of Fuad Shakur. He was the second in charge of Hezbollah, and he was killed in Beirut. Now, what Iran has been saying is it could possibly draw in the so-called axis of resistance. This includes the Houthis in Yemen, also fighters in Syria and in Iraq alongside Hezbollah, and also Hamas in Gaza. So once again, it is a very tense time in the region, and a time that these key mediators are really hoping to get a ceasefire into place. We can confirm that talks are underway once again in Cairo, and while a Hamas delegation isn't actually participating actively in these talks, it is there in the Egyptian capital and will be speaking with mediators on the conclusion of the day's talks. So once again, very tense time here in the region.
We'll leave it at that. Sarah Coates reporting from Tel Aviv. The next meeting on the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas will take place in Cairo this evening. United States President Joe Biden has indicated that talks between Israel and Hamas taking place in Cairo went well on Saturday. Cairo is hosting a high-level meeting of the officials from Egypt, the United States, Qatar, Israel and Hamas with the aim of reaching an agreement to stop the Israeli war on Gaza and complete the exchange of detainees and prisoners. On Saturday, they held one round of discussion to bridge gaps between the positions of Israel and Hamas. Responding to questions from reporters on the status of Gaza truce talks, Biden gave a thumbs up. Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati held an emergency meeting with officials and caretaker ministers at his house in Beirut on Sunday to follow the developments amid the latest escalation between Hezbollah and Israel. Sunday's violence was among the biggest exchanges of fire since hostilities began between Israel and Hezbollah in parallel with the eruption of Israel's conflict against Hamas in Gaza. News from back home now. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Jalgaon in the state of Maharashtra on Sunday. There he took part in the Lakhpati Didi conference where he distributed certificates to 1.1 million new Lakhpati Didis. He released fresh funds for women entrepreneurs. The scheme aims to provide financial assistance to women entrepreneurs and help them achieve financial independence. Lakhpati Didis are women entrepreneurs who earn 100,000 rupees or more annually. Prime Minister also interacted with the beneficiaries of the scheme from across the country.
लखपति दीदी बनाने का ये अभियान सिर्फ बहनों बेटियों की कमाई बढ़ाने का अभियान है, इतना नहीं है। ये पूरे परिवार को, आने वाली पीढ़ियों को सशक्त करने का एक महाअभियान है। ये गांव के पूरे अर्थतंत्र को बदल रही है। यहां इस मैदान में मौजूद हर बहन बेटी अच्छी तरह जानती है कि जब वो कमाने लगती है तो कैसे उसका अधिकार बढ़ जाता है, घर परिवार में उसका सम्मान बढ़ जाता है। जब किसी बहन की कमाई बढ़ती है तो परिवार के पास खर्चने के लिए पैसे भी ज्यादा जुड़ते हैं। यानी एक बहन का भी लखपति दीदी बनना पूरे परिवार का भाग्य बदल रहा है। लखपति दीदी बना।
India's Prime Minister also visited the northwestern state of Rajasthan on Sunday, and there he took part in the concluding ceremony of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations of the Rajasthan High Court in Jodhpur. Prime Minister also inaugurated the Rajasthan High Court Museum and an IT platform, Twarit, inspired by the Digital India mission. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared his thoughts in the 113th episode of his monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat on Sunday. Prime Minister spoke about a number of issues starting from space to politics to animal-human bonding. Prime Minister urged youth to connect with the political system.
इस साल मैंने लाल किले से बिना पॉलिटिकल बैकग्राउंड वाले 1 लाख युवाओं को पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम से जोड़ने का आह्वान किया है। मेरी इस बात पर जबरदस्त प्रतिक्रिया हुई है। इससे पता चलता है कि कितनी बड़ी संख्या में हमारे युवा राजनीति में आने को तैयार बैठे हैं। बस उन्हें सही मौके और सही मार्गदर्शन की तलाश है।
Giving topmost priority to children's nutrition, Prime Minister urged the entire nation to focus on nutrition throughout the year and celebrate it for a month.
और इन सब का भविष्य हमारे बच्चों की सेहत पर निर्भर है और बच्चों की अच्छी सेहत के लिए जरूरी है कि उन्हें सही पोषण मिलता रहे। बच्चों का न्यूट्रिशन देश की प्राथमिकता है। वैसे तो उनके पोषण पर पूरे साल हमारा ध्यान रहता है, लेकिन एक महीना देश इस पर विशेष फोकस करता है। इसके लिए हर साल 1 सितंबर से 30 सितंबर के बीच पोषण माह मनाया जाता है। पिछले वर्ष पोषण अभियान को नई शिक्षा नीति से भी जोड़ा गया है। पोषण भी पढ़ाई भी, इस अभियान के द्वारा बच्चों के संतुलित विकास पर फोकस किया गया है।
Prime Minister in his Mann Ki Baat address also extended his wishes to the people on World Sanskrit Day that was celebrated on the 19th of this month. He added that even today people have special affection towards Sanskrit both at home and abroad.
आज भी देश विदेश में संस्कृत के प्रति लोगों का विशेष लगाव दिखता है। दुनिया के कई देशों में संस्कृत भाषा को लेकर तरह तरह की रिसर्च और प्रयोग हो रहे हैं। आगे की बात करने से पहले मैं आपके लिए एक छोटी सी ऑडियो क्लिप प्ले कर रहा हूं।
Shigragam Gangam, Idam Lakshmanam Abre. Satudristva Meditire, Navam Ishvakunandana, Titir Shigragam Gangam, Idam Lakshmanam Abravit.
साथियों, इस ऑडियो का संबंध यूरोप के एक देश लिथुएनिया से है। वहाँ एक प्रोफेसर विदोनस ने एक अनूठा प्रयास किया है और इसे नाम दिया है संस्कृत ऑन द रिवर्स। कुछ लोगों का एक ग्रुप वहाँ नेरिस रिवर के किनारे जमा हुआ और वहाँ उन्होंने वेदों और गीता का पाठ किया। यहाँ ऐसे प्रयास पिछले कुछ वर्षों से निरंतर जारी है। आप भी संस्कृत को आगे बढ़ाने वाले ऐसे प्रयासों को सामने लाते रहिए।
Time for us to take a breather on DD India News Hour. Coming up after that, Islamic State group claims responsibility for knife attack in Solingen, Germany that killed 3. And 2 bus accidents in Pakistan kill at least 44 people. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. In a conversation with Indian journalists shared on social media, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said negotiations were ongoing with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey and Switzerland regarding the second summit on peace. Zelensky also mentioned that he expressed support to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi for India hosting the second peace summit. However, he noted that Ukraine cannot hold the summit in a country that did not sign the communiqué from the previous summit. Additionally, Zelensky revealed that he reviewed all points from the communiqué and the earlier summit during his meeting with PM Modi. As the Russia-Ukraine conflict entered 912th day on Sunday, Moscow launched several missiles and drones overnight targeting northern and eastern Ukraine as per Kyiv's military. The attack targeted Ukraine's frontline regions of Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv and Donetsk. Meanwhile, 5 people died and 12 others were injured after Ukraine shelled the town in Russia's Belgorod region. Speaking at a joint press conference with Poland's and Lithuania's leaders, Ukrainian president said that Kursk operation is part of a preventive move to stop Russian plans to capture the northern city of Sumy.
It was a preventive blow and our operation fulfilled this task. We prevented encircling of Sumy region and the desire to occupy the region's capital, the city of Sumy.
A man suspected of a stabbing rampage in the western German town of Solingen has been taken into police custody on Saturday after the attack that killed 3 people. North Rhine-Westphalia's Interior Minister Herbert Röhl said that authorities spent the day following a hot lead that led to the arrest. The man was affiliated with a home for refugees that had been searched earlier in the day. Röhl added that a manhunt was conducted after the attack, making 2 arrests that were likely not the perpetrator. Earlier, the Islamic State group claimed the responsibility for the attack that occurred in the Fraunhof, which is a market square in Solingen, during a festival marking the city's 650th anniversary. The attack also wounded 8 people. In Pakistan, at least 44 people were killed in 2 separate bus accidents on Sunday, including 12 pilgrims who had been prevented from crossing into Iran. At least 22 people were killed when the bus they were traveling in plunged into a ravine near the town of Azad Patan. In a separate incident, 12 men died when their bus crashed into a ravine on the Makran coastal highway in Balochistan after being prevented from crossing into Iran. 2 NASA astronauts, Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore, will now return to Earth on a SpaceX vehicle in February next year. The pair, who rode on Boeing's Starliner spacecraft to the International Space Station in June, were expected to be on an 8-day test mission, but have been stuck for months because of problems with Starliner's spacecraft. The spacecraft faced problems, including helium leaks and malfunctioning thrusters, on its way to the space station. The agency therefore took the rare decision of reshuffling the 2 astronauts to a SpaceX mission and returning the Starliner empty. NASA Chief Bell Nelson said that the decision was taken for the safety of its crew.
Space flight is risky, even at its safest, and even at its most routine. And a test flight by nature is neither safe nor routine. And so the decision to keep Butch and Sonny aboard the International Space Station and bring the Boeing Starliner home uncrewed is a result of a commitment to safety. Our core value is safety, and it is our North Star.
India and Indonesia held the 6th meeting of the Joint Working Group on Counterterrorism on Friday in Jakarta, Indonesia. India and Indonesia strongly condemned terrorism in all its forms. They also condemned the use of terrorist proxies for cross-border terrorism. The 2 sides exchanged views on domestic, regional and global terrorism threat assessment. They discussed misuse of internet for terrorist purposes, terror financing and the nexus between organized crime and terrorism. The ongoing cooperation in counterterrorism is an important element of India-Indonesia partnership. The 2 sides agreed to hold the 7th meeting of the Joint Working Group on Counterterrorism in New Delhi on a mutually convenient date. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh visited the Naval Surface Warfare Centre at Kadirok and witnessed the path-breaking experiments at the facility during his ongoing visit to the United States. Rajnath Singh said India and the US look forward to working together and benefit from each other's experiences. The catastrophic floods in India's northeastern state of Tripura have created a dire situation, with the crisis intensifying in Battali and Gharantali villages within the Sonamura division of Sefajila district. The rising water levels of the Gomti and Rudrasagar rivers have left residents caught in a precarious situation as floodwaters inundate homes and force evacuations. As families are displaced and seek refuge, various organizations have stepped in to offer much-needed assistance. The Kuwait Pravasi Foundation, for instance, has been actively providing relief by distributing dry rations to those affected by the floods. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news today. India's Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurated the Zonal Office of Narcotics Control Bureau in Nawa Raipur in the Indian state of Chhattisgarh and also took a review meeting with officials in the state. The Union Minister told the officers to investigate drug smuggling in a scientific manner. Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde has announced 5 lakh rupees financial aid to the family members of the deceased from Jalgaon who lost their lives in Nepal bus accident. The incident occurred after a bus carrying 43 Indian tourists plunged into a river in Nepal, killing 27 amongst them. Preparations for Krishna Janmashtami are in full swing across India. Devotees are flocking to temples and puja shops as they get ready for celebrating this auspicious day. Krishna Janmashtami will be celebrated on 26th August this year across the country. And in sports, a bunch of over 20 Indian para-athletes departed for the Paris Paralympics from Delhi airport on Sunday. Various reputed para-athletes such as table tennis stars Bhavina Patel and Sonal Ben Patel, para-badminton players Manoj Sarkar, Manisha Ramdas and gold medalist Krishna Nagar, and para-athletes Sachin Sarjerao Khilari and Sakshi Kasana, among others, were at the airport to catch their flight to Paris. The Paris Paralympics will start from the 28th of August. India has sent their largest ever contingent of 84 athletes who will participate in 12 disciplines. That's all now in this edition of DD India Live, but do share your thoughts with us on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, so you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Anun Bhattacharya from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.